Alright, so I should have done this some time ago, but actually writing a script, collecting footage, recording audio, editing a video, and uploading, yeah, I kinda needed a break. Plus, I'm also in school, so priorities. That aside, you click the video so you know what this is about. Insomniac's recent title, Spider-Man, which has gotten glowing reviews across the board from everyone. So, what are my 2 cents on the matter? Nothing you probably haven't heard. Short answer, it's a great exclusive. Go buy it. One of the few games I've seen in some time worth these $60 that I actually paid for it. But the long answer, well, if you stick around, we'll get into it. This is Spider-Man for the PS4. Also, major spoilers are probably inbound, so if you haven't beaten the game, then you might want to come back later. So, let's start with the criticisms and nitpicks that I had with the game. Oh! The racing missions were hard as fuck, but that's because I suck at racing, honestly. And really, my only gripe is that sometimes while swinging, I would get stuck on a building while chasing something like a drone or a pigeon. So, that was a pain in the ass. Also, I think replaying the challenges for tokens, you should still be able to nab tokens. I made the mistake of using my challenge tokens to upgrade my gear, which damn near locked me out of the 2 suits, so I almost didn't get my platinum trophy. But, other than that, there are no real complaints. Let's talk about the positives. And there are a lot. Starting with the plot. I'll just straight up say it. This is one of the best Spider-Man stories I've ever seen put to media. Up there with spectacular, and hell, the original comics is one of the most relatable interpretations of the web-slinger I have ever seen. The team behind this game really gave a shit when putting together this story. They remixed a lot of origins, but in a way that still felt like it could be a natural progression for these characters and an interpretation of the world that they're in. I could tell what direction they were going with Octavius, mostly because Slott had his fingers in the writer's room briefly, so, But I didn't expect him to be as sympathetic as he ended up being. They changed the reason for Osborn's greed and made it more self-serving and family-focused, so even though I wasn't the biggest fan of him, I understood his motivation all the same. I think for the most part, it is all interwoven in a believable manner as well. So, I've never cried during a movie, or a game, or a book, or really any type of entertainment from that before, but this game is one that actually gave me a tearjerker moment near the end, with the ultimatum that Pete is left with. Not the first time Spider-Man has nearly made me cry, but this time with all the investment put in, the emotions behind it feel a lot more earned and earnest. Like, I have my own Spider-Man story that I'm working on for shits and giggles, and this one was just so engrossing to me that I almost scrapped it entirely, but I'm 14 pages deep, and I'm only at Peter's college years, so I got a long ways to go, and I'm not stopping. When that's done, someday in the future, I'll do a video about it. Anyways, let's talk about characters and gameplay. I think the 6 were pretty well implemented, and I was curious how they were going to handle the boss fights with Doc Ock and Mr. Negative, which were distinct in their own right. If you go and watch my first few hours with it, you do see me die a lot, because I was actually using the wrong button for dodging. But I like the boss fights and actually wish there were more. The gameplay doesn't really remind me of the Arkham series much, even though it's martial arts and gadget based, just because the fighting styles of Batman and Spider-Man are so different, and Peter's is a lot more aerodynamic and dodge based as opposed to Bruce's, which just seems really brute and heavy. But really, I like the gameplay because it's fluid. It's simple, but you can get creative with the various gadgets and power-ups that you unlock throughout the game. I really liked what they did with Miles and how they gave him this kind of little brother dynamic with Peter, and they're making him a lot more of a fleshed out character. Honestly, he was more fleshed out in this game than he has been in years from his own comics, which is pitiful, and that says a lot about where Marvel Comics is right now. I'm actually really curious as to how his role will change for the next game. Having Jefferson Davis be the cop that helped Spider-Man initially was a really fluid and cool way of incorporating the Morales family into Peter's life, and having him try to help fill the hole left by Jefferson does seem very, very mature of Pete. Going from there, Mary Jane. Although they changed her character and made her essentially Lois Lane light, I don't mind it simply because I think they've made her likable enough that her career change would pass. I think her kind of adrenaline chase may be the reason why she jumps into situations more headfirst nowadays. I mean, after dating Spider-Man, you either get used to it and it gets boring, or it gets exciting and you always still want that cheap thrill. I think she still is the same fiery girl that Pete liked in his teens, and although the game doesn't make you fall head over heels for her, you do see that there is a lot of care and concern between MJ and Pete. Speaking of MJ and Miles and gameplay, let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of people have felt that her and Miles' stealth sections broke up the gameplay in a bad way, but honestly, I loved their missions because it does kind of give a sense of perspective. I love playing as Spider-Man, don't get me wrong, and knocking out bad guys and doing my own stealth that way, but I think the stealth missions really kind of humble you and give you a different perspective of the people around Spidey. I do agree it was dope being able to be MJ and do her own takedowns, and I think Miles should have his own in the next game, but man, when I had to escape from the Rhino and not be seen, that was honestly a kind of tense moment, and I liked it a lot. I think that's one of the game's strengths in making the world of Peter Parker feel larger with the inclusion and perspectives of the people that are important to him. While we're at it, let's talk about our hero, our lead. The web-slinger, the spectacular, the amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker. So, Yuri Lowenthal is my favorite voice actor. I liked him when I watched Naruto, I loved him in the Dot Hack franchise, and I laughed at him in the Persona games. But his acting in Spider-Man is something else. I'm not an acting expert. Hell, I haven't done it in a good couple years, but the combination of factors in his performance made this just feel very personal while playing this game. You can hear the cracks in his voice when he's grieving, the breaths he takes while he's swinging through the city, the fun he's having when he's doing Spider Cop, and the pain when he feels betrayed by Ock. All of that and more comes out in this vocal performance, and it is honestly just beautiful. I remember he voiced Peter Parker for the Spider-Man Unlimited mobile game, and I thought it would be cool to hear him do it in a real show or a game title. And while playing this game, I felt connected to Peter in a bunch of ways that I'm sure many others can relate to. Let's take a look at it. Pete is a 23-year-old recent college graduate trying to find his place in the world. He has girl troubles. He loves helping people. He was a STEM major. He's basically broke like...
Bitch, me too! The fuck?
Hell, I turned 23 next month. All those puzzles were mad familiar because they were machines I had to use when I got my own STEM degree. I'm mid-key broke and trying to find a job right now. My relationships with women are also... Anyways, Pete in this game is just relatable and human, and not only does the writing reflect that, the performance does too to such a striking degree. It honestly makes this interpretation of the Spider one of the best I have ever seen. Yes, Pete makes mistakes. Yes, he has secrets, but it's so refreshing to see a seasoned adult Spider-Man but not lose any of that relatability in the process that a lot of other interpretations believe that they might lose. This was just a perfect storm of my favorite voice actor playing one of my favorite characters on one of my favorite gaming platforms, and I'm honestly still blown away with what I got in the end. So, after all that, what else is there to say? Great story, solid gameplay, lots of suit options that were interesting and creative, a world open to more crossovers from the looks of it. Honestly, another thing I love is this has so many nods to other Spiders in it. There's nods to Homecoming, the Raimi movies. Hell, one of the major plot points with the Osborns is a remix of the plot from TASM 2, but done way better. I just really love this game, and I don't regret spending the $60 on it. I beat it in 3 days, I platinumed it in about 8, and I have never gotten a platinum trophy before until, well, this game. The game looks beautiful, it runs smooth, the swinging is the best I think I've ever seen or played, and I've played quite a few Spider-Man games, and it just is complete. Until the DLC comes out, which now I have to buy because, damn it, I want some more Black Cat Silver Sable action since my stupid Sony crossover movie has been scrapped, but that's besides the point. So yeah, I love this game. It's near the end of the month, so if you haven't gotten it, what are you doing? Let me know your thoughts on the game down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
And I lost him. Good job, Spidey. Nice. I'm invisible again.
Gotcha, bitch!